welcome to the latest episode of Bite Me. I'm Martin, and I'm joined, as always, by my very good friend, Joe. Joe, how you doing?
My name's not Joe. My name... I can't do it. I'm so sorry. I was gonna do a whole spiel about being a puppet with a terrible voice, but
Well, Joe, once you go wood, it's never as good.
I haven't to say on the map.
So how's your week been? You've had another catastrophe up in the flat in your house.
Will you please stop asking me that question? How's my week been? Because every time you do, another two catastrophes seem to have happened. My boiler's packed in, my kettle is broken. I'm sitting here like a little old man with a hot water bottle, just trying to keep warm. Do you know what? There are terrible things, truly terrible things, and my boiler packing in is absolutely in comparison. So I will ride my very small woes gracefully.
Yeah, you've just put that into a lot of perspective, actually. I've just been complaining about my drippy shower, and it's like, at least I've got a shower at the moment.
And that is not a euphemism, okay? He has genuinely got a drippy shower.
It's dripping all over the place.
Oh my God. Do you know what, right? You did that competition last week, yeah? For the Buffy mugs.
Yes.
And then after you put it in the episode, I thought, great, you know what? And then you put it on social media, and I saw more than 3 people answer it. I was like, we're in trouble now.
It's about 20 in total. I've got to pick 3. I've already picked 1, but I'm going to pick them at random and not just picking our mates.
The trouble is, there's 2 fellas, you know, and they live near each other, and they're both waiting on their mugs.
That's all right. One of them can have it Monday to Friday. The other one gets it the weekend.
Oh, that's how I live my life. Yeah. Thanks for the responses, though. That was wonderful.
Yeah, it's great. We've had another couple of reviews on iTunes. We've had a couple of ratings on Spotify, which I really appreciate. It's a nice surprise when I checked Spotify this morning.
Can I ask you how many episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer there are? 100 odd, isn't it? 150, something like that?
150.
150 odd. By the time we end this, given we're getting 2 more reviews a week, we're going to have about 300 reviews by the time we get to the end of this thing.
Yeah, I welcome it. I've never been involved with anything that's had this much positive feedback. And I will say, the Buffy community seems to be very welcoming and very, very positive.
Yeah.
I've seen reviews of the latest audio series Slayers, and people were like, it wasn't for me, but other people will love this, and that's great. I'm just happy something's happening with this property. Compare that to, say, Star Wars or Doctor Who fandom, when every episode's the worst one.
Have you seen that podcast Finish Big, when these fabulous 60th anniversary Doctor Who Once and Future stories come out, and they're slagging it off to the high heavens? I mean, that's people's hard work there.
Finish, but I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's outrageous. No, the Doctor Who community can be, of which I am part of, can be scathing, but it does seem to be a very gentle, very sociable community, Buffy. So I'm very pleased we've dipped our toes into this and exposed ourselves to some of these wonderful people.
Absolutely. Do you think it's because Buffy started as a show where you're a teenager and you're navigating your own personal demons? So we all have that in common. All us weirdos that are a bit geeky and like Buffy and Angel, we kind of all gravitate, and we've got a similar story to each other. Like, we were all bullied, we were all like not picked first in sports. And
I do wonder, yeah. Are you effectively saying that with this podcast, we're creating our own Scooby Gang?
Yeah, I would like to think so.
Of misfits and beatniks. You heard it here first, folks. You are misfits, okay? But we're all misfits together.
Have you had a chance to listen to Slayers yet?
I haven't, you know. I'm going to get to it, don't you worry. But I'll make a promise that by the end of the season, I'll have heard the whole thing. Okay, so by the time we do our live Prophecy Girl podcast commentary, should I start that sentence again?
Yeah.
By the time we do our commentary podcast of Prophecy the Lot, and you know me, I will.
Excellent. I can't wait for you to hear it. I need to re-listen to it because, yeah, like I said before, I can't tell if I actually liked it or if I just enjoyed being with those characters. Which I guess your opinion's valid.
It's funny sometimes like that when you read a book or watch some TV or listen to an audio and you're on the fence. And sometimes it takes somebody else's opinion, someone else's reading on you to tip in other direction.
Yeah.
I used to do it all the time, sort of seek other routes. I think maybe that's why podcasts are so popular.
Yeah, that's probably what it is, yeah. So what are we get to talk about today, Joe?
Oh, after perhaps a slight dip last week with iRobot Jane, we're back with another zinger this week, the Puppet Show.
Oh, I love this one.
I think it's cool. This is super. Well, come on in. Tell me your favourite thing about the puppet show.
I like Sid the pervy puppet.
I bet you did.
And
Why did you like him, Martyn? Why did you like
You know, once you go word, it's never as good.
It sounds
They
like me
wouldn't do this
podcasting.
now. This was very much of its time where you could have an older creepy puppet perving over a 16-year-old girl.
I mean, they do call it out.
Yeah, they call it out, but they just wouldn't make it at all now. They wouldn't even dare to tread there because of Twitter.
Well, I mean that's true about a lot of things. It's why a lot of TV these days is quite sanitized. It's because everybody's scared to be. No, I'm not saying I want people being pervy to girls or things like that, but I'm just saying like you have to tread very carefully.
Yeah.
You're basically on thin ice the second you broadcast.
I don't want to get into this debate about stuff, but what annoys me is people will throw the scorn of modern day on like previous stuff. So you'll get an old tweet from 10 years ago that was acceptable 10 years ago and people loved it 10 years ago, but it resurfaces now and people get angry with it. And it's like, yeah, but you got to take the context of what society was like back then.
Can I tell you a story about that? Actually, sorry, we know you said you weren't going to get into this, but let's get it. About something I saw. I'm going to name it in, but basically, somebody was reading a book that was written 15 years hence, yeah, and from somebody who is in no way racist or sexist or anything. The most liberal person has the most liberal lifestyle, yeah, but this one passage in this book was a little bit suspect in how it was worded. And the person that was reading a picture of it went online and like literally drove up a smear campaign. This person has got to be cancelled. And do you know what? Genuinely, people I know, friends and people I respect, jumped in on this, going, "This person's appalling. This person's got to be cancelled. I'm going to put dog shit through this person's door." All of this stuff. So I messaged the person that wrote it and went, "Look, you got to sort this out. I know you're not this person they're saying you are, but you got to sort this out." And so, typically smart, she wrote a piece, put it online, and all of a sudden, all those people that were whipped up in her frenzy were going, "Oh, I knew she wasn't like that, really. Oh, that," and I just couldn't believe how fucking fickle people were. Media. I was like, "This is how quickly somebody can be brought down." It's really scary.
Yeah, and you can even get it like something won't have registered with you as bad back in the day, but you rewatch the thing now, and now society's progressed and we've moved on. You watch it in a different light. That doesn't mean you should be outraged by it. And oh my God, this person was horrendous for putting this in the thing 20 years ago. No, it was a different time. If you woke up today, you went to bed tonight, woke up tomorrow in 2003, you would feel like you were on an alien planet.
But there are also like levels as well, because I don't think Buffy ever truly oversteps the mark in respect. Like, I think there's moments where you go, I wouldn't do that now, but it's not like outright offensive. Guys, do me a favor, go and check a synopsis for the sitcom Love Thy Neighbor from the 1970s. Okay, I want you all to go and read what that sitcom is about. That would never be made today in a million years.
Well, what people always get wrong about that is it was meant to be satirical and having a go at the racists.
But the worst part of it was, I think somewhere in the execution, they missed the joke.
Yeah. I mean, I remember hearing the actor who played Alf Garnett, I remember hearing an interview with him, and he said occasionally he's a Millwall fan. Well, he was. So occasionally he'd be at Millwall, and he'd have someone come up and be like, "Oh, I love it when you have a go at them racially insensitive word there." And he'd get really angry and be like, "No, mate, the joke's on you. We are having a go at you."
Trouble is, those things now are thought of as racist and offensive.
Yeah.
Even if that wasn't the intention in the first place. Whereas I do think with Buffy, like we've talked a little bit about student teacher stuff and things like that, where it is a little bit on the edge. I don't think you can't watch this now and go, "Oh, that's so offensive, I can't watch it." No matter how sort of liberal and woolly you are now, I think all of this is within the realms of acceptable.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, interestingly, it's all the behind the scenes stuff that goes against Buffy.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. And actually, you know what? Maybe we'll explore that a bit later. But back to the puppet show. Sorry,
I don't know why I went off on that weird rant there.
But can we please hold our hands up for the extraordinary Armin Shimmerman as Principal Snyder?
Hang on, I've got a round of applause thing here. Hang on.
Oh, go on.
Is that?
Wow, well done. That was amazing. Where on my pad, I've literally written down every single line is in
Oh
this
wow.
script. I mean, his delivery.
Oh, absolutely. There were moments where I forgot they were kind of setting him up to be the villain. And this, like, you see him creeping around and
No, but it's even better than
yeah,
he is the villain, it turns out, but a long-term one of 2.5 seasons.
yeah.
And he just gets better and better. Can I say one of his lines, please? Which
God,
really made
God.
I laughed my head off. I had to pause the episode to go back to write down the line. He goes, there are things I will not tolerate. Students loitering on campus after school, horrible murders with hearts being removed, and also smoking. That was a great line.
I love it when he's talking to Giles about not being touchy-feely because that's the type of behavior that leads to you being eaten.
Oh my god, he has so many great invisible fluty lows, doesn't
Yeah.
he? I like it when it's to Buffy. You're in now.
He's so good.
And what it's basically, he's like the commandant of a prison in the Second World War, isn't he? You know, they may as well just all call him Mein Führer because it is an over the top character, but it's an understated, and that's why it works.
I wonder if he relished not having to put all the prosthetics on that he's got in DS9 and just do a proper acting role.
I'm almost fan of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. That's actually my second favorite television show, and Quark is a big part of that. You know, there's humor there to the show. It's so refreshing to see him doing something completely different, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I remember because I used to watch this with my dad and he would be like, oh, that's Quark. And it blew my mind at the time. But then as soon as I looked at him, I was like, yeah, of course it is.
But like you said, I think he said in an interview at the time he was so happy to have a job where he didn't have to undergo 5 hours of intensive makeup at the beginning of every day, putting that enormous arse on his head every single day.
Oh, it must have been a nightmare. Apologies to any listeners. I live on a junction and a bunch of cars were just beeping at each other. So I don't know if that came through on my mic.
I can't hear a word. No, you're all right.
Oh.
So Fluty's out, Snyder's in. I mean, he's called for God's sake, and he is snidey, and he gets super snidey in series 3, doesn't he? When he's in the mayor's pocket.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. So what do you make of the conceit that we think Sid is the villain of the piece?
So clever. The direction, I thought the direction of the episode was really, really strong. And we've got lots of scenes low down of something moving about, and that's why we fixed the puppet.
Yeah.
I thought it worked really, really well. But the sequence where Buffy shoves the puppet against the wall and they're having a dialogue scene where they're both accusing each other of being the demon that's taken the hearts, and they both go, wait, what? It's great. I mean, so over the top. It is very fun.
It's what I would say is one of the strong ones of this series.
Oh, yeah. Well, and don't you love the fact that in every scene, with the camera keeps going through the preparations for the talent show, and you can see people juggling. Cordelia singing dreadful song.
She's about as good a singer as I am.
Well, the trouble is she's a dreadful singer, but that's just an awful song as well. So you bring the two things together, you got her going, I decided long ago. Oh, Christ. I love Cordelia.
Yeah, I definitely felt what she brings this week. Like when you have a couple of episodes where she's not there, you really relish her coming back.
I think you're in a corner, watching this. You told me you weren't too keen the first time round.
No, the first time I hated her, and when she popped up in Angel, I was like, for fuck's sake. But she does have a great character evolution from Buffy and Angel. Just incredible. Yeah, her evolution is nearly as good as Wesley's.
Well, what about when Giles is trying to give them a pep talk and he's like, imagine everyone in their underwear, and she goes, "Ew, even Mrs. Franklin." I don't know who Mrs. Franklin. She must be pretty ugly.
Yeah. What do you make of Giles having to be forced to do this talent show?
So funny. So funny. His pained expressions. He's watching everybody doing their dreadful rehearsal. Yeah, really funny.
So go on, give us your talent show story.
What? Okay, so it wasn't a talent show, but it is being on stage. And given, Buffy, Willow, and Xander are appalled at the fact that they've got to take part, and Willow has terrible stage fright. I have terrible stage fright as well. But I played the lead in our GCSE drama called Gosforth's Fate, it was called.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And it's all about basically a fate that gets put on. And it's like the play that goes wrong. Everything goes wrong in the fate, And there's a sequence where Counselor someone, as played by my friend Hay, is at the microphone. Water is tipped on the wire, so she gets electrocuted and falls off the stage with sort of spectacular results. I'm supposed to be downstage catching her, and I missed my cue. So she got. This was, bear in mind, this was for our GCSE as well. This was my exam mark. She said her line. I missed the cue. She got electrocuted. The lights are going on and off. Suggests she's being electrocuted. Flings herself off the stage, and I miss her completely. And she falls into the audience. I think I was on the verge of an A, but this may have pushed me into the B I got for. But she's still alive to tell the tale. What about you, Boy?
Oh well, yeah. I used to want to be an actor, so I've done a lot of stage stuff, and I didn't mind being on stage. I always felt at home. But there was this one time I was in a school play, and I played a court jester, and I was meant to bring in my own juggling balls, but I could only find 2 of them, and one of them was squashed. And the first time I came up with this joke, I said, "Oh, I've only got 2 balls. I lost the other one." And I said that in front of a middle school audience. Everyone laughed. I thought, right, it's killer material. Can't wait to do this for the main show. Did it when all the parents are in. Crickets. No. Absolute crickets.
We were not amused by your baldy humour.
Yeah, just crickets. You could have heard a pin drop.
Oh, the thought of going on stage, it fills me with horror. You think, like, because I seem sort of confident within this sort of thing in podcasting, but actually, I don't do well in big groups of people either. So that's a demon, alas, that I never quite got rid of.
No, it's really weird. Like, I would find it really awkward to walk in a room of like 20 people and introduce myself. Well, I could go up on stage in front of 200 and do a performance, and it wouldn't bother me.
Better man than me, then. I was talking to a comedian the other day, and he was saying the complete reverse. He said, "I can stand in front of because the thought of making a telephone to somebody who doesn't know I'm ringing brings me out in a cold sweat." Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Phone call.
It was a great interview.
Phone call. I could do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, I've got a few things I need to discuss with you.
Okay.
What is it about these ventriloquist dummies that is so creepy? What is it? I was thinking about it, right? And I was wondering if it's the same thing as like clowns. Is that it's sort of like a mockery of the human face without the expression, without the body language. It's just the sort of the mask.
See, I don't find them freaky at all, but I understand why people would. And there's a term called the uncanny valley, and that's like where something almost looks human. I don't get freaked out by that. I'm always amazed by it.
Are you really?
When Polar Express came out, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's freaky." I was captivated by it because I was like, "Look at what we can do now. That looks almost real." I'm always kind of really intrigued by it. But yeah, I get why you would be creeped out by a dummy. I mean, Chucky and Child's Play and Goosebumps had Slappy.
But it's not even that it's a doll. It's just the face. There's a bit where Buffy's in class and that dummy head turns around and faces her. And the camera lingers on his face, staring at her. And I was like, "Oh, will you turn that camera off that face?" It was really giving me the creeps. It's because there's no expression in it at all. I scared the life out. But I thought the vocal performance of the hard-bitten detective. Well, he's not a vampire slayer, is he? He's like a demon.
A demon hunter, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was great. It's sort of leaning into it reminded me of the sort of film noir films of the 1950s, the hard-bitten detective. I could see him with a trench coat and Venetian blind shadows all over his face.
He does come back in you haven't played the game Chaos Bleeds, have you? He comes back in that. We learned that once he got freed, his essence got recaptured and put inside another doll. So he comes back in that game, and then he gets freed by Faith.
I feel like basically everything we've done so far in Buffy is ripe to be picked for these spin-off medias,
I would watch a prequel series about Sid as a human in a demon hunter, and then the finale is he gets put in that dummy.
Don't give Big Finish ideas, all right? Obviously, only a show they haven't touched on is Buffy.
That when we were watching it, I was saying to Penny, when the other episode we had the Free pop up, I was saying, if this was a Big Finish property, they'd have a series.
Oh my God, let's do that as we go through, shall we? Every single time we think something could be a spin-off or a mini series, something like that. Can about comic performance, because I remember saying to you last week, some of it was a bit off. Some of the comedy didn't land.
Yeah.
Every joke landed in this, and there was one bit which was almost completely mute, so it was sort of physical comedy rather than people saying things. Where Xander goes, "My God, Sid's gone," and then you've got Xander, Willow, and Giles all doing the comedy. My God, where is he in the room? It was so funny. Like I feel like this team has already gelled, but they just know how to do them for now.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicholas Brendan improvised some moments of this. When
Did
he's
he?
doing the red rum bit, that was
I
just
wrote
him.
that down.
He thought the camera was off and he just carried on doing it and they kept it in.
Hello, my name is Sid. All that stuff was great. Did you notice how long the pre-titles? It was 6 minutes. It was quite long.
Yeah. And we got the voiceover guy again, so it's running short.
Short this week. I've written down here CSI Sunnydale. Now, what do you imagine I mean by that?
Oh, the police force. Maybe we follow the police force.
Well, so basically, my interpretation of that is there's a particular subgenre of Buffy episodes where things are going down at the school and they have to like question the students and try and figure out who's up to mischief in it. So it happens in this one, and I thought those are really great. It happens in Earshot in series 3,
Right.
where do you remember where Buffy can hear everyone's voices?
Yes, yeah.
And one student thinks, I'm going to kill you all. So they have to do an investigation. And it happens in Help in series 7, where Buffy starts working in the school again. And somebody kill Cassie, the girl. And I really like those episodes because it feels like we're watching a police procedural, but it just happens to be set at Sunnydale with our regular detectives. It was really fun.
Yeah, that's the format they take for the first series of Angel as well. Like he's a vampire detective.
The more you talk about Angel, the more good it sounds. Maybe
There were times where I enjoyed Angel more than Buffy. I've never disliked Buffy, but yeah, there were just moments, I guess, where I was at my life in that time. Angel was speaking to me there where Buffy was still a little bit tweeny and maybe I wasn't there.
I don't think that's a popular opinion though, because I seem to recall when Angel series 3 and 4 was going out against Buffy series 6 and 7. I remember there being a bit of a swing in Angel's favour.
Yeah, series 3 is really strong, and it's the first time they do a cliffhanger on Angel.
I think 4 was where people started going, what's going on with Cordelia here? She's pregnant. What's this kid doing here? Like
4 I don't really like. 5 is good, but yeah. We'll get back onto the puppet show. Yeah, I like this. I love Sid. I love that we're getting more Cordelia. Snyder's great. All the cast are great. Everybody knows what they're doing here. Everybody's got their character. Everybody's gelling well. No Angel again this week. I don't think we see him again until the finale, though.
Which, after Angel, I think is probably not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we're supposed to think we're not ever going to see.
Yeah, and you know what? I could totally see that there's a universe where he never comes back.
But thankfully, that's not this universe.
Yeah.
After being very rude about that stupid robot last week, I want to say that I thought the demon makeup in this, the full body demon makeup in that climax was really strong.
Oh, it's so good. So good. Yeah, I love it when he says, Giles, will you help me do my trick? And he's like, how does it work? Well, the blade comes down and chops your head off.
He goes, so what's the trick? And the fella goes, what trick? It's great. I mean,
I've got a fact about, the little thing at the end we see them do, the little Oedipus performance.
Gold.
The brothers sent a note to Joss Whedon and we said, look, we know this is Shakespeare, but can you take out the bit about him talking about sleeping with his mum? Oedipus was written 2,000 years before Shakespeare was born.
God's sakes.
And every repeat performance on the WB, they took that scene out.
No.
Yeah, it was only included on the DVDs and when Buffy got syndicated and went on other networks.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we showed it over here. It came up on Sky One and BBC Two. They showed it.
We had supply teachers attempting to sleep with students a couple of weeks back. How is this offensive? And that's 2,000-year-old literature, for God's sake.
Oh, America's got very strict. For a country that goes on about how free and brave they are, they've got some very strict censorship rules.
Explore that because I know there are episodes coming up. Earshot is one of them, I believe, that was... they didn't air it, did they? Because you've got Jonathan with the rifle at the end of that episode.
Yeah, I understand that one because I think that was around the time of the Columbine shooting. So I think maybe they
It's
paused.
a conversation worth having then, because it's all life imitating art and all of that. And I think it's worth having that conversation. Bullshit, if I'm honest.
If you're crazy, you're crazy. You got
Yeah.
regardless. That's what I get really. People are like, oh, another rant here. But some people go on about like body positivity, and we shouldn't just show skinny people because it makes fatter people feel bad about themselves. And I think that's bullshit, because if you feel bad about yourself, you're going to feel bad about yourself regardless, right? I really want a hair transplant because I've gone bald, right?
Right.
I want that. That's what I want.
Right, we're setting up the crowdfunder this week, folks.
But me seeing ads for a hair transplant on Instagram doesn't make me any more determined to have one. I still want one. So if you ban those adverts, I would still want that. I would still be unhappy that I'm bald. So I don't know. I think if you're that way inclined and you've got a mental illness, like you're going to go and shoot up your entire school, you're going to do that regardless of if you see Tarantino put it in a film.
Well, the trouble is if the suggestion there is watching it made it happen, yeah, then surely there's more than just one person in the entire Buffy, is psychotic.
I think Columbine happened before the episode aired. I think it had been shot and it got shelved to do a bit of sensitivity. It's like, that lady got decapitated in Enfield just before Robots of Sherwood aired. So they
Doctor Who episode, folks.
Yeah,
those of you don't know.
So Ben Miller was meant to get his head chopped off, but they took that scene out. And then it was meant to become evident that he was a robot, but they took that scene out because of that happened the week before. So
I think I might be the problem in this conversation then, because I don't see any issue in that beheading scene being in there because it's a piece of fiction, and I don't see any issue with putting out earshot when it was really supposed to air, because again, it's nothing's made light of. It's treated as a very serious thing in the episode. And it's basically a treatise on how far you'll go when you're pushed. Like it's got something to say, and perhaps that was the point to say it. I don't know. I don't think there's easy answers.
No, and I think we're not the right people to sort of considering we're a continent away. And
although, okay, well, they're bringing it back to the puppet show for a second. I just want to say this series' ability to take completely absurd premises, and we've had a few. We've had praying mantises, enormous dick robots and things like that, and to make them feel dramatic and funny. And like by the end of this episode, I'm not kidding you, I was empathizing with that dummy. I mean, if you'd have told me I'd watch a TV show about a ventriloquist dummy that I was going to genuinely feel sorry for when he dies, stabbing a demon in the heart, I would have said you're crazy. But there's something about how they characterize it. There's something about how all the regulars play it for real that it really, I was feeling something.
Oh, he feels like a fully 3D real character. It's interesting because he's the first character outside Buffy's inner circle that mentions a Slayer. Like he says he was in a relationship with one. Yeah. That would be really interesting to explore.
So we'll explore the old Slayers, won't we, in a lot of depth. What's that episode in series 5 when we see all the ones that Spike came into contact with?
Oh, I can't remember the name of it, but it's really good.
Gosh,
and that's amazing. The one that it marries up with an episode of Angel. So they wouldn't have had this in the US because they didn't air TV like this. But just to explain to anyone who didn't know, we used to be 6 months to a year behind on all American TV shows. So Buffy and Angel would air for 22 consecutive weeks. Friends would air for 24 consecutive weeks. ER, 24 consecutive weeks. We didn't know that what they did in the US is film 6, put them out, film 6, put them out. We didn't know that. We just assumed it went for the whole year. So what Sky One used to do is they would play an episode of Buffy and an episode of Angel. And there's an episode of Angel that ties into that episode of Buffy where Spike is talking about killing previous Slayers.
Oh, serious. In fact, they did that a couple of times, didn't they?
Yeah. If you watch both, you get a more expanded view, but each episode works as its own thing and you don't feel like you're missing anything.
Oh, yeah, not enough TV does that, do they? Doctor Who flirted with it with Torchwood and Sarah Jane, didn't it? It did a bit of that. But because I remember in I want to say series 4 of Angel and series 7 of Buffy, there was a Faith appears in Angel and then she goes across to Buffy almost immediately afterwards. And then, isn't there a pair of episodes in series 1 and series 4 where you've got Angel coming into Buffy after he's left, and then Buffy goes across to LA to say, "Oi, you came to Sunnydale and you didn't even say hello to me, you bastard."
Yeah, that happens. In the geography of where Sunnydale is and where LA is, they said it's 2.5 hours away. So they want it to be close enough that they could do crossovers, but far enough away that it's not happening every week.
I think that's what do you hear that? I think that's a joy of having two shows being made by the same creative team, is that one can inform the other. In fact, the only other time I can really think about it is Star Trek. Do you remember with the Marquee, where you had that started in DS, it fed across the TNG and became the premise of.
Yeah, that was cool.
Really clever. Can I please tell you what I think was the absolute funniest line in this whole thing? And it's Cordelia at her most selfish.
Yeah, go on.
She goes, it's when they're interviewing everyone, and she goes, "This is such a tragedy for me. Emma was like my best friend." And then Zandra just goes, "Emily." and then she goes, "It's like it's all about me." We all know that.
Yeah, oh, yes.
Oh no, please don't tell me it's me. Is it me?
Of course not, Joe.
You liar.
No, I'm joking. I love Snyder in here. It goes back to what we said, is when you replace a character, you have to go the complete opposite to the last one. And that's the way it always works, and it works well.
What about Snyder's reaction to the play at the end? I don't get it.
Oh, I love that moment. It's like, avant-garde? Yeah, I guess you would think it was some weird thing they'd just done. You got this like demon body on the floor, and they're holding a dummy, and
the last thing I expected was for that curtain to open. And the dumb's like, oh, this is great. Do you know what? I'm coming to the conclusion that the best season 1 episodes of Buffy are, one, if they're X1, this is, but two is if the humor lands. So I really like The Witch, because that was very funny, and I really like this. I forget what's coming up. What's next? Is it Nightmare next?
Nightmare's next, which I don't remember enjoying that much.
I don't remember too much about it. Just that it's got a scary clown in. I hate clowns.
I think it was a cheap episode because they just put a bunch of plastic everywhere. Like plastic.
We might see Nicholas Brendan in the nude though, so that will automatically improve my viewing experience.
That'll bump it up a few figures.
That's right. Yeah. But no, I mean, I'd give this, like, if I was giving it a 10, this is out of 10, because I just riot with this.
Oh, it's a solid 9 out of 10. Yeah. Yeah. It's just.
But I think the thing we've got to acknowledge is this shouldn't work at all. It's about a grizzled detective ventriloquist dummy, and it works.
It shouldn't work. It shouldn't work. But yeah, it's just because everyone's playing it so straight.
Does that mean Buffy can literally make anything work?
I think they do. You know, there's not many TV shows that can do a musical episode.
Indeed, or an episode with no dialogue.
Yeah, I know Star Trek just did a musical episode, apparently. But I'm not hearing people talk about it in the same way they still talk about Once More With Feeling.
I think because Once More With Feeling was first genre TV show to really push the boat out and do it. And because the songs were so memorable, I heard some positive things about the Star Trek one. But you know, you're riding a wave of other shows doing it. So it's sort of one of a pack, whereas Joss Whedon was literally there waving the flag saying, look what we've done.
I've been to conventions. I went to the SFX Weekender once, and they had a Once More With Feeling sing-along. And this was 10 years after that episode had it. You couldn't get in the auditorium. People were standing outside to hear it and sing along.
Why are you bringing this up? You know I'm going to start singing the second you start doing this. Going through the motions, losing all my... Oh, no, I've forgotten the line. What's the line?
I can't remember.
They got the mustard. Out they got the mustard. Okay,
I just remember the woman saying, "I'm not wearing any underwear" in that song.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I've used that when I've had a parking ticket. Now I drive.
And on that note, good night.
Yeah. Actually, that's not a bad place to end, is it?